another episode of The Little Radio Show. My name is Sandra Fernandez, and I'm joined by my co-host, Angelica Casares, and we're bringing you small talk about big topics. This week, we have a very candid conversation about communities, about creating them, the importance of your community support group in being a success, and what we find essential in the friends that we choose for ourselves. We also have an interview with Eber Lopez, who talks about the 4th Annual International Language Services Conference, what it is, and what they hope to achieve. Thank you for joining us. Just a reminder that you can catch us every week on Thursdays at 2 o'clock Central Time on hmsnetradio.org. Our show archives and the link to our iTunes channel are available at thelittlерadioshow.com. Now, I've been thinking a lot about the importance of community this past week. Last week we did a wonderful interview with food blogger Vianney Rodriguez of Sweet Life, and she talked about how a big part of the success that she's achieved has been because of the supportive community that she has been able to tap into online.
Yes, I think she was very adamant about it. I think on several occasions she kept touching on that, how when she first started, she insisted that she connected with Latina Bloggers Connect and she built a community there. And not only from there was she able to gain success, but she met people who in turn, I believe one of the co-author of her book now, she met through that community. But I'm sorry. Yes.
No, yeah. And so that's been on my mind a lot this last week, especially as I've gone out to several events where that's a topic that's been reiterated over and over, that a supportive community, people who actually help you to achieve your goals, or who answer your questions and who touch base with you and who are a community of support, is an essential thing. And then earlier this week, my sister, who is in education, sent me an article that basically says that according to studies, one of the biggest factors in whether or not a child is successful at school is who his or her friends are, which completely blew my mind.
Well, I'm not very surprised at that. I'm not very surprised at, it's kind of, it's that, I know it's that whole new wave of thinking, like the energy that you bring, the energy that you give is the energy that you're going to bring. It's like, it's kind of the people that you bring into your life. It's that of what you pay attention to that is going to ultimately determine your success, whether that's in school, whether that's as an adult. So, I mean, no matter in sort of what career or focus you're doing it on, it's just that.
The reality is that as human beings, especially, well, all ages, honestly, we tend to emulate the people that we're closest to.
Correct.
We all have this huge desire to fit in. So if your immediate peer group are people who,
and now we're not just saying that, that's scientific proven, that people want to fit in.
Yes,
ultimately that's it's being human.
Yes. And so and I'm not, and there's people in the audience right now going, wait a minute.
Yeah.
What about the disruptors and the, the people who are out there changing? No. I am just talking at the most general level. People want to be accepted. I don't want to be the outcast, is what most people want
Normally,
to feel.
yes.
Normally, yes. So those people who are in your immediate peer group, you tend to have the same attributes. So if you're surrounding yourself with people who, myself as an adult, who think that it's okay for me to spend 5 minutes rearranging my food so I can take the perfect Instagram of my plate, then that's okay. But if I'm going out to lunch with people who are rolling their eyes and making me feel uncomfortable about it,
yes,
I'm not going to do that. And let's be real, my job, my persona, my online brand, the occasional food photo on Instagram is a requirement.
Yeah, it is. And which is the best thing to do, because I do that also, is I actually do it around my family. And you're right. You tend not to do it when you're around certain type of people. You tend not to say certain type of things. You tend not to do certain type of things. You don't want to give off the I don't, she really doesn't need to be here. You don't want to get the what is she doing type of effect.
So if you're an 8-year-old and you love to read, and you have 4 really good friends and 3 of them think that reading is just the stupidest thing in the world.
Uh-huh.
One, you're going to stop talking about the fact that you love to read. And then what's going to happen is you're actually going to stop reading. Most kids, the immediate reaction would have been, they would have felt ashamed of getting straight A's.
Yes, because again, there's people out there who make you feel ashamed of the simplest things that you like to do. If they don't think what you're doing is sort of the thing to do, they are very adamant about telling you, and especially children. Adults, you get the occasional eye roll, you get the occasional ugh type of, and then the atmosphere changes. So yeah, as children, it is very important to know. As a mother, it is very important for me to know who my son is around and who he chooses to be around. It's nice to know that at this age, I have a say. I believe I have a say as to who he's talking to and so on and so forth, which has led into a lot of conversations within our house.
But back to the point about building community. And this is what we're really talking about. We're talking about building a support
we're off
system.
subject.
No, it's absolutely. But we're talking about building a system of peers. Okay. As an adult, making friends is hard.
Hard's a very nice word that you're using there, because it is not next to hard. It is almost impossible to do so.
There are a lot of places that offer the opportunity for you to actually spend time with people in such a way that friendships develop.
It is very hard, but it does. A lot of your success does depend on who you're talking to, what you're saying to them, the conversations you're holding.
Do they get you?
Yes. Are you going to be discouraged? Are they going to discourage you?
It's nice to have friends who understand the language that I'm speaking.
And when we say language, it's an actual culture that we talk, when we speak, when it's understood. Not a lot has to be explained. Not a lot of what are you talking about? Or changing the subject to the weather type of thing. It's like we can go in depth into a conversation and not feel bad about it. And I also have the luxury of having that support with my family. They have no idea what I do. Not the absolute. What they see are pictures.
Wait a minute, Thea. So they invite you to events and they pay you to post on Twitter about them.
Yeah, I know. And one of the conversations that I had with family was the whole Mana thing. They're like, wait. Not only did you go to Mana, you see Mana, but they paid you? It's like, yeah, that was kind of part of the deal. That's kind of cool, isn't it? And I never understand how cool it is until my family tells me how cool it is. And it's like, I never see it. But yes, that's what it is.
The amount of work that went into achieving that, that's the conversation, but that's the support community.
Yes. We eat, live, and breathe what we do. We go to sleep talking about it. We wake up talking about it. It's sort of, what are we doing today?
And if you're just tuning in, this is the Little Radio Show from hmsnetradio.org. But going back to the original thing about how your community helps you be successful, they can always also help you be a failure. If you were surrounding yourself, if your family and your immediate friends were, and it sounds like a very harsh word, but we're sabotaging you in their very subtle, lovely way, then being a success probably wouldn't be a possibility.
Correct.
If you were in relationships with people and you're like, okay, I'm sorry, I can't go to that thing because I've got this commitment, and then they pulled a guilt trip on you to where you really did feel like you had to make a choice between the relationship or these activities that don't make sense to them, but make sense to you, or that you know you need to do to be successful.
I think we're having that conversation. It just going back to the same thing. It's when your family understands it and they get it. They want to see you successful and they see you like cheerful, and they understand that maybe they don't understand it, but you understand it, and that's sort of enough.
Our families.
Yes, that is our families. Well, we tend to think, because that's our families, we tend to think that's everyone else's families.
But most people can't see beyond the mold that they have lived in their entire lives, and so
it's hard to move past. And I've seen that, and I've seen that in past friends. And I understand now that if you want to, you have to surround yourself with the people that you believe are going to influence you in a way that you want to be influenced. So if you want to remain influenced with the good or the bad or the ugly, that's where you're kind of get influenced.
But that's us as adults.
That's
as
us
children,
adults. That
you
does make
don't
a big,
really know that's a choice that you're making. As children, what I know is Juanita is my best friend, and Juanita thinks that doing good at school is a bad thing, and she's my best friend, so she must be right.
As very gullible children and very gullible teenagers and well into your 20s, that's it. Those are your choices. Are you in or are you out? Do you want to hang with us? This is what you have to do, or do you not? And it's basically the same thing as an adult. It's like, these are the conversations we're holding. Are you okay with having these conversations with us? How many passionate conversations do we not have with our friend Letty? And we're just kind of in it because we admire the conversations. And those are the kind of people I want to surround myself with.
And those are the conversations that inspired the radio show.
Yes, thank you.
I look around and I see, I don't know if it's by design or by personality. I tend to relate to very strong personalities. I call my immediate friends group the Type A personality friends. We're all a little bit, we have the tendency to be pushy. We're opinionated. We can be loud. And the amazing thing is we get along so very well.
Even the person I married into has, as you said, that Type A personality who's just, I'm going to do it because I'm going to do it, and you're not going to stop me, and I want to have these conversations, and this is what I want to say.
There's a certain type of arrogance that comes with that kind of personality. And I speak as a card-carrying certain type of arrogance person.
I am an undercover Type A personality. I tend to put on this because I do really hold interest in what people are saying. But I am underneath kind of pushy. I am, and I totally accept that.
You say that like we don't know. Seriously, sweetie. I mean,
yeah, I know, and I do it to where it's like, no, I'm not going to tell you I'm going to do it. I'm just going to do it. Like, you're probably going to watch me do it. I'm just going to do it.
So how do you build the community that you need?
Oh, going back to the original topic that we were talking about. How do you build the community? How do you build the community that you want? What is that movie where they say, if you build, they will come?
Oh, Field of Dreams. If you build it, they will come. Yes. That's fake.
That's fake.
Yeah. If you build it, they will come is actually a joke in social media and online.
Oh, wow.
You have to go out and promote.
Well, basically, to me, it not so much like that, but it is. It kind of does resemble the same thing. It's like if you put on your bright lights, people they're gonna watch you coming. So if my sign says I am, I will, then I am and I will attract those people.
Well, I have a very Eastern philosophy when it comes to doing things, and it's like if you do good things for people, other people do good things for you. Not the same people that you did the favors for and the that you put out there, but if you put good stuff out, good stuff comes back to you. I firmly believe that, and I actually learned that from my very old-fashioned Mexican dad, who would say, you do a favor for someone else does a favor for you, and that's how the world works.
So what would you say to that early 20s person who wants to build the community? Where do you look?
Well, first of all, we're not talking about being all about business, because honestly,
I mean community and because it can be building a community. Like, I want to lose weight, and so I want to be around people who's they're driven to lose that kind of weight, or I want a support group for, I want, because we had a guy here earlier talking about health, and I'm just going to say this. I want somebody who's going to better teach me about diabetes. Where would you start as an early 20s person who says, you know what, I don't want to keep doing the same thing? And because for me, that's where I changed. It was my early 20s, and I decided, no, I need to change. Do I need to change? I need to change what I'm doing. I need to change my habits.
Well,
I guess that's where you start, your habits.
There are two components to this. There's the in-person, and then there's the online. In the online communities, there is a community for everything. So it's just a matter of finding either the group or the hashtag, or, the LinkedIn group or the Facebook group.
Which is kind of how we all met, wasn't it, with Juan and you? It was
most of those of us who are in our immediate close circle sort of knew of each other for a while, but we all ended up at a party together, and it was an awards party.
Oh, that's right.
It was an awards party where Juan received a blogging award. That's right. And for some reason, it just sort of clicked after that.
We were all there.
We were all there. And after that, we started working with Latism, and so we started having like Taco Thursdays or Taqueria Thursdays or something like that.
Yeah.
And so we would meet once or twice a month and just talk and talk and talk, and we had so much in common. You know, we're all Hispanic, we were all bilingual, we all worked in PR.
You guys all worked in communications.
Yes, we all worked in, most of us worked in communications or in new media of some sort.
Yes.
And it just sort of happened that we just all sort of clicked. And so it would be like, oh, I have this thing, do you know somebody? And so we eventually started to do that. In person, building a community normally means attending an event that's relevant to the community that you want to build. And so that might mean a communications party, that might mean a networking event, that might mean something else. Unfortunately, you're going to have to take the people out of that event to go connect with them on a different level. Making friends is important, and that does mean face-to-face relationships.
So contradicting. Making friends is important, but making friends is the hardest thing in the world.
It is. Well, that's why. We're all so busy, and then there's no... You know, how did you used to make friends before? You would go to school with them. You were in after-school programs.
Well, basically, we were around them for 8 hours a day. It was, you couldn't avoid these people.
And you know, one of my very best friends that I have was someone that used to work for me. And I was around her about 10 to 12 hours a day for 12 years.
Oh, so that's how you guys became very close friends.
We became very close friends, in spite of the fact that I was her boss.
Oh, that's nice. That's nice.
It is nice. Every once in a while, we had we're going to leave our friendship outside the door because I need to be your boss right now. And every once in a while, we had okay, as my friend, I'm going to tell you, blah, blah, blah. Yeah. So one of my closest friends, I think we've held on to each other since I was the age of 12 or 13. And she's a lot older than me. And I've always been more mature than my age, and I've always known this. So she was, I believe, a good 5 years or so on, but she was married to one of my friend's brothers, and so we kind of just held on to each other from there. And it is true. Just be very honest. If you're going to hold on to those friendships, be very honest with them. Tell them, this is what I'm going to do. This is what my intention is. Do you want to encourage me, or are you going to disencourage me? Are we going to hold conversations where it's just one-sided, or can we talk both ways? Because she's not in social media, and she's not a part of all of everything that I'm doing now, basically. But it's kind of she's my go-to person for everything, for every conversation that I want to have, for things that I'm uncomfortable with, for things that I don't say to my mom or even Juan sometimes. And those are very few gems out there, and I totally understand that. And I wish I could find some other gems sort of kind of like that. But it's so hard. You're so afraid of what you're going to say to people. And going back to the conversation with little kids, you're so afraid of what you're going to say to somebody and how they're going to interpret what you say. I want you to like me.
Well, yeah.
That's what it comes down to.
Basically.
I want you to like me. And so...
Am I going to scare you off if I say this to you?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, for those of you in the audience, I encourage you to leave some comments on thelittleradioshow.com and let us know how you build your community and what you consider to be important in the people who support you in achieving your goals and being a success. And if you're just tuning in, this is Sandra Fernandez and Angelica Casares from The Little Radio Show. You can catch us at thelittleradioshow.com. Going to the doctor's office or going to the hospital is usually an experience. It's not pleasant to begin with. Imagine trying to do it if people who are serving you don't speak your language. It's to provide this kind of service and to address this issue that the 4th Annual International Language Services Conference is being held. Joining us today is Eber Lopez, who's going to tell us a little bit more about the conference, the reason that it was created, who it's targeting, and what it hopes to accomplish. Hi, Eber.
Well, how are y'all today? Thank y'all for having me on the show. I'm really honored to be here to be able to talk about something that I grew up as a Spanish speaker, so this is something that's very near and dear to me, and also did that in my professional career working within healthcare. So it's something that I'm very passionate about.
Tell us a little bit more about the conference itself, when and where it's being held, and what the focus of it is.
Sure. So the International Language Service Conference, the ILSC, is an annual event that's being hosted by MasterWord Services. It's in its 4th year. On average, we have about 300 people that participate that will come from all different areas of the U.S. This year, it's actually taking place on Friday, October 9th from 7:30 to 5:30 p.m. at the Hilton Houston on Post Oak, so at 2001 Post Oak Boulevard here in Houston.
Who are the attendees?
Well, it really varies. This particular year, we've developed 3 tracks. So there's an administrator track for hospital administrators or managers. There are folks that will be coming that there is a nursing track that is specially geared towards nursing staff or clinicians, and there's also another track that is for the individual practitioner, the linguists.
So if I'm a practitioner, a health practitioner, why would I attend the conference?
Well, part of it is it's a very good forum to not only network, but to also share strategies about inclusion, language access, and the different protocols that hospitals are doing. What I've found, I've spent 20 years working in healthcare industry, and what I've found is a lot of hospitals have strengths, or absolutely all the programs have strengths, but very few are willing to talk about the weaknesses that they have. And it's a good forum for the different practitioners to come in and to really talk about, hey, this works in our hospital, or this is the common trend that we're seeing within our hospital, and also to kind of share with MasterWord about the changes that are coming in demographically in their region. So as you all know, right now, we may be expecting some additional refugees coming from Syria. So there again, that would place an additional Arabic demand on the city. So those are important things that we like to talk about. That way we're better prepared for the future. This is the first year that we've actually developed 3 tracks. We've kind of set up the administrator track to really do more of an education piece on how to develop the program and make it sustainable within a hospital system. There are really some important laws that are related to language assistance that we're really trying to promote, and it's gaining momentum. So more and more hospitals are really becoming aware of the standards that are out there.
Let's go back to the emergency services and to the people who actually live in the community that medical facility services. Is the focus of the conference actually to train translators? I guess I'm not understanding.
Yeah, I think that's the question I wanted to go down also.
It's not necessarily to provide specific training. Some of those really do have to happen on a smaller format, so a 1-to-1 or a small group of 20. As an example, there are specific terminology. Let's say if you're in the ER or if you're in cardiology, so you can actually pursue specific certifications or trainings that will relate to that specific part or division of the hospital. So it's really to go for the nurses, anyways, for this particular iteration of ILSC. It's really to talk about awareness and to raise awareness, because without a robust training program in the hospital system, those type of skills and the promotion of the program seem to wane. Language, as I'm sure everyone's aware, is very much it's a skill that has to be practiced. And so a lot of folks who will normally say, well, I'm a bilingual speaker, I grew up speaking Spanish or whatever targeted language, but when it really comes to the specific terminology that's related to becoming a medical interpreter, they lack that skill. So it is very much a perishable skill that needs to be maintained and practiced.
There's a large demand for this particular skill set right now. There is,
and it is growing. So just to give you a perfect example, last year before joining MasterWord, I was in San Antonio. Mm-hmm. In San Antonio, 54% of the population is Hispanic or Latinos. Well, Catholic Charities and the Department of State was bringing in about 5,000 Arabic or Iraqi refugees. So there's a big push that's coming through and a big demand for those particular services. A lot of hospitals would use some sort of machine translation, and in some instances, those are fine. They can work. It's not the preferred. And one of my coworkers, this is just a funny story to me, his wife was giving birth at a hospital who will remain unnamed, and they were using machine translation. Well, that's great, but the problem is the keyboard's in English. So how does she respond? So obviously you can't pose every question in a yes or no format. The patient has to be able to communicate back, and that's why it's so essential that we have medical interpreters.
Funny story, as you're talking about, I went to the hospital recently and I seen somebody actually pick up a phone and get an interpreter on, and even their interpreter there, I think emphasizing that there should be interpreters, or the language should be there present, physically present, as opposed to the phone, because there is miscommunication there. Is that a push there?
And again, just speaking as an administrator, just coming from the healthcare side, it depends on the acuity of the patient or the acuity of the conversation.
Okay.
So as an example, if I'm coming in for a general checkup and it's just how are you? Do you have any pain? How are you responding to your medication? That type would be appropriate for a phone. Now, if it's more, we're having a conversation about a particular type of cancer, or there's some health literacy issues, then really it needs to be an in-person.
Okay.
So one of the things I used to kind of promote at the hospital systems I worked at were, if the conversation is going to be like a 10-minute conversation, more than likely the phone would be an appropriate tool. However, anything beyond that, because there are end-of-life discussions that you have to have, procedures, consents, and all of that, it's really more appropriate to have somebody on site.
So what does an ideal conference attendee look like?
Anyone who is interested.
Anyone who is interested.
That I think would be the best way, because one of the things that I've experienced, at least from my side, is there are challenges with developing the community of interpreters. And I think this is a great format for that, to allow people to really come in and to network with each other. So the more people that we can get involved and raise awareness about the standards that apply to healthcare, I think the better off that we as a community would be.
Nice. So you're inviting the community out.
That would be great.
All right, nice.
Is there CEU credits for people who attend?
There is, and as well, we do have CEUs for the nursing component. There are we'll actually have some representatives from the Joint Commission there, which is the kind of the governing and compliance component of healthcare. And we'll have some other representatives from some of the certification groups, so they can come through and ask questions about what they have to do to become certified or to enter in the industry as an interpreter.
Do you have any final thoughts? Anything else to share with our audience?
I think one of the things that really seems to fall off is we as Latinos tend to be very hesitant about making requests. We tend to just really kind of let things go, and I think people need to be really aware of what those rights are, as with regards to healthcare. That way they know what they can ask for. And again, they're welcome to come to our website, to MasterWord at MasterWord.com, to really look at receiving information.
And we will be posting a link to MasterWord and to the conference in our show notes on thelittleradioshow.com. Thank you very much, Eber. I really appreciate you coming to join us
Thank you all
today.
for having me. I hope I'll see you all at the conference.
Thank you for joining us for another episode of The Little Radio Show. We invite you to check out our iTunes channel and leave us a rating or a review. You can find the link to our iTunes channel at thelittleradioshow.com.